Well, hello everyone. Here we are taking a look at the third Gospel writer, Luke. But first of all, can I ask you please to check you are still subscribed, as I've been stuck on the same number of subscribers for ages, and it is free, even though I know there have been some new ones. If you could ask just one person you know to become a subscriber, I'd very much appreciate it. Thank you very much. So, Granny's GodPod number 110, Luke the Evangelist. Very little is known about Luke, the traditional writer of the third Gospel and the book of Acts. He hardly ever includes personal details about himself, and nothing definite is known about his background or his conversion. Both Eusebius and Jerome call him a native of Antioch, and in fact much of the book of Acts centres on Antioch. Unlike the other writers of the Gospels, Luke was not an eyewitness to the life, death and resurrection of Jesus, but gathered his information from the eyewitness testimony of others. His research concentrated on providing a detailed, historically accurate narrative of Jesus and the early church from people who were there at the time. Both his Gospel and the book of Acts were dedicated to a man called Theophilus. Irenaeus tells us that Luke, a travelling companion of the Apostle Paul, recorded the Gospel preached by Paul. We can see from the Bible Luke was a frequent companion, at least from the time of Paul's Macedonian vision in Acts 16:9 until his imprisonment in Rome that preceded his martyrdom in 2 Timothy 4:11. Paul received many visions and revelations throughout his ministry, and the Macedonian vision is one of a man asking him to come and help the people in Macedonia. Luke is traditionally considered to be the only Gentile or non-Jewish writer in the New Testament. In Colossians 4:10, Paul makes a distinction between Luke and those of the circumcision or Jews. In Colossians 4:14, Paul calls Luke the beloved physician, and so naturally he would be drawn to acts of healing. In those days, physicians did not have a unique technical vocabulary, so his description of healing and medical issues are like those of the other Gospel writers. Luke's Gospel emphasises Jesus' compassion, healing, the role of the Holy Spirit, prayer, and God's kingdom. He often observes the marginalised, frequently mentioning groups of people who were outside the normal power structures of first century Judaism, such as Gentiles, Samaritans, the poor, and women. But while he describes Jesus ministering to the pariahs of society, he does include the salvation of the rich and respectable. Luke's Gospel has a wide-ranging record of the life of Jesus, covering more time and territory than the other three Gospels. His is the only Gospel to record events prior to Jesus' birth, as well as an episode from Jesus' youth, when he was supposed to be returning home from Jerusalem, but after 3 days his parents found him still in the temple. Luke gives the fullest account of the Nativity, including the birth narrative, praise psalms, the birth narrative of John the Baptist, the Annunciation to Mary, the manger, the shepherds, plus accounts of Simeon and Anna. This strongly suggests Mary, the mother of Jesus, was one of his sources. Whereas the other Gospels focus on Jesus' activity in Galilee and Jerusalem, Nearly half of Luke's Gospel records events that took place between the two. And from 9:51, Luke focuses on the final journey of Jesus to the cross, to Jerusalem, the purpose for which he had come to earth, that is, his mission to save sinners. The book of Acts ends with Paul still in Rome, so it's likely that Luke wrote these books from Rome during Paul's imprisonment there. He records Jesus' prophecy of the destruction of Jerusalem in AD 70, but doesn't record it happening, so he was likely writing before the Roman invasion of Jerusalem. Neither does he mention the persecution by Nero in AD 64 or the martyrdom of James, thought to date to AD 62. On the other hand, it could be argued he wished to finish his narrative on a more positive note. Both the Gospel of Luke and the Acts of the Apostles are dedicated to Theophilus, called Most Excellent, a title of respect, suggesting someone of high status. He was likely a patron or significant follower of Jesus who financed the books Luke wrote, perhaps realizing the importance of keeping a record of these life-changing events. His Greek name means beloved by God or lover of God. As with the formal dedications in books nowadays, it doesn't mean Luke intended the books only for Theophilus. While information about St. Luke the Evangelist is limited, historical sources and tradition suggest he was born early in the 1st century AD, estimated between 1 and 16 AD, in Antioch, Syria, to Greek non-Jewish parents. Eusebius Pamphili, a 3rd century bishop of Caesarea, in chapter 4 of his book of church history, agrees with Luke's Antiochian parentage, but the names of his parents are not found. They are thought to be a well-off Greek or pagan family. It is speculation, but his father may have been a freed slave of a Roman family, since his name Luke or Lucas is an abbreviation of the Roman name Lucanus. Luke was obviously highly educated, having trained as a physician, and with an excellent grasp of the Greek language. Luke identified locations that would have been familiar to all Jews, at the same time preferring Greek terminology to Hebrew. He quotes the Old Testament less than Matthew, and when citing the Old Testament, he mostly uses the Septuagint. His Gospel portrays Jesus as the Son of Man, rejected by Israel, and then offered to the world. That's all for this one. Next time we'll try and have a look at John. Bye for now.